else the same. Oh no, I never thought that I could love anybody the way that
How do we move to the
like the moon without the night, 'cause I need you in my life. If I don't get you, it's like faith without belief, like a heart without a beat. What's a heart without a beat? Waiting be love if you know show, like water when no they flow. I never knew. Say one day now you will go be my forever. I want you so completely. Oh my baby, oh, you are the family, oh, you make me smile. Nobody loves you more. Nobody loves you more than me, my baby.
All right, guys. Good evening, everyone. So we start in a minute's time. If there is any of your friend that wants to join, please share. This is the right time to share the Zoom link on your WhatsApp status. Share with them because we are starting in less than 1 minute. Okay, this is 6:05 and we are starting right about now. Okay, please, can you mute your mic? Who's speaking? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I'm glad you are here again for another session, another insightful
meeting is being recorded.
Another insightful webinar session. For today, we'll be taking AI governance for cybersecurity professionals. We covered the skills, roles, and career opportunities, right? We all know that AI is a buzzword now. I don't think a day goes by without each and every one of us here using AI. I don't know for others, but there's no day I don't use AI. It's like that personal assistant that I didn't know that I needed, right? Few minutes before this session, I used AI, right? There's a whole lot of stuff we use AI to do. So knowing how to build it and use it the right way is very, very important. So it doesn't end up causing harm to us, right? So that's why we are here today. And we are all going to leave here knowing so much about AI governance and the opportunities that we can leverage from it as cybersecurity professionals. If you remember a few months ago, where Adewale Adife was the guest speaker, he mentioned something. He said, regardless the career path you choose in cybersecurity, knowing something about AI governance is very important because AI governance is one of the future of cybersecurity, right? So I don't know if you are excited enough, but you should be. We'll be taking that session right about now. But before we proceed, I'll call on our lead mentor and our amazing host, Mr. Victor Akinwode, to come and give opening remarks. But before he does that, I would be reading his profile. So please, Semidayo, can you share that screen, please? Oh, yes. Thank you. So Victor Akinwode is a seasoned techpreneur with a first-class degree in computer engineering and a career that spans cybersecurity consulting, AI engineering, and data-driven fintech innovation. He's the founder of Cellnetic, a subsidiary of Finalfx Technologies Limited, where he leads the development of smart financial technology that help businesses extract actionable insights from their financial and security event data. Previously, Victor served as a cybersecurity consultant at KPMG Nigeria, specializing in vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, ISO compliance, data protection and privacy, and the development of AI-driven threat intelligence platform that helped organizations safeguard their digital infrastructure. At Vino Technology Limited, he worked as a software engineer, building secure data-centric solutions that fuse AI with product development to improve business outcomes. Victor also has deep experience in natural language processing, having worked with Masken, a Germany-based grassroots organization. There he contributed to tackling the underrepresentation of African languages in AI by building large datasets and developing models that support multilingual technology. Victor is a prolific builder and researcher. Victor has developed and managed over, Ikechukwu, please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. Victor has developed and managed over 15 software solutions, trained over 3,000 students and 400 professionals, and continues to mentor emerging tech talent across Africa through the VA community, a fast-growing ecosystem of aspiring cybersecurity and AI professionals. Guys, please, I want to check the comment section, and I'll be doing it throughout this session. There are two things I want you to do. One is have your notes and your pen, because I do over here. And whenever I'm calling either the lead mentor or the guest speaker or any other person, please drop fire emoji. I don't know if you are excited as much as I am. So let's have our lead mentor right now. Please, guys, let's clap, let's celebrate him. This is the man that's been running with this vision. Trust me, if Mr. Victor did not run with this vision, I'm not sure any of us would be here. Maybe some of us will just be hearing of AI governance and we may never have the opportunity like this to come learn from someone who is a big name in that field and get to even ask insightful questions. Guys, I am so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. Please have the floor.
All right, thank you so much, Francisca. Thank you. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. And thank you for choosing to spend your Saturday evening, here, or morning or afternoon. So wherever you're joining from, I'm glad to have you here. Today, we are gathered around a question that is moving faster than most of us can keep up with. Which is the fact that as artificial intelligence reshapes how organizations operate, who makes sure it is built and used responsibly is very, very important and should be looked into too. So AI governance has quietly become one of the most important and most career defining. In fact, it's even the frontier in cybersecurity right now because it sits right to get technology, risk, ethics, regulation, what have you, where all of these things meet. And the professionals who understand that intersection are going to be in serious demand. And that is exactly what tonight's or what today's webinar is about. So not just the theory of AI governance, but you're going to be learning from the practical side. So the skills you need, the roles that are opening up, the real career paths you can step into, you have to learn all of that. So, and we couldn't ask for a better panel to guide us. So we are honored to have the person of my boss, Ripson Uguzo, which is a senior manager of cyber and privacy risk at KPMG Nigeria, and is someone who brings deep experience from the world's leading advisory firms. And then we have our moderator, our amazing moderator here as well, Miss Francisca, which is a GRC analyst. Yeah, and as we know, GRC analysts are the ones who, who live and breathe governance, risk and compliance day to day. And she anchoring this conversation, it's something, it's something huge and something big. So before we begin, a couple of should I say housekeeping notes that I would like to mention. Please keep your microphones muted unless you're invited to speak. Drop your questions in the chat as they come to you, and please stay till the end. You won't want to miss the career opportunities portion of this lecture or of this webinar. So with that, let's get into it. Thank you so much, Francisca, and welcome once again, Rubsen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Victor. Thank you. That was
No,
an amazing opening session. Okay, so before I call our guest speaker, guys, are you ready? Let me read. I'll read out his profile. So please, Temidayo, can I have that on the screen? Okay, we have it soon. Okay, so he'll be sharing that soon, but let me start reading from here because we don't have much time on the side. Okay, I guess it's coming up. Okay. All right. Okay, so amazing guest speaker. Okay, so this is his profile. I'll be reading that. So Mr. Ripson Uguso is a senior manager in the cyber and privacy practice of KPMG Nigeria, with core expertise in artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and cybersecurity, delivering transformative solutions across the financial services sector. He has led numerous high-impact initiatives that integrate advanced technology with enterprise strategy to improve resilience, enhance decision-making, and reduce operational risk. With a career spanning over a decade, Ripson has successfully driven end-to-end innovation programs leveraging AI and automation to streamline processes, enable data-driven insights, and strengthen governance frameworks. His cybersecurity leadership includes hands-on experience in cyber governance, resilience and transformation work, security transformation and integration, penetrability, privacy, security hardening, crisis simulation, and third-party risk management. Guys, are you clapping? This is one person with all of this profile. Ripson's strategic approach combines technical depth with strong business acumen, allowing him to embed secure intelligence system into critical operation while aligning fire. This is a lot. Like we are so grateful and honored to have you, sir. and we celebrate the effort it took you to achieve all of this. We appreciate your presence. And now, sir, the floor is yours. We are ready for everything you want to give us. Guys, are you ready? Because me, I'm ready. I've picked up my notebook and my pen. Drop some fire. Clap, clap, clap. I can see Adeshami. I can see Emmanuel. Thank you, guys. Well done. So, Mr. Ripson, the floor is yours. Let me share my screen.
All right. Thank you very much, Francesca. So we'll start with a bit of context to talk about the length and breadth or the blast radius that AI or the impact that AI has caused across the industry. So you have maybe we'll start with the table of content, and then we'll then move to the context setting. Yeah, so table of content, we're going to talk about what is AI governance, talk about opportunities and the threat landscape. We have a couple to learn from that. So there's a lot of evolution happening in the space. And then we'll talk about the skills needed, roles and career path. So let's start with the context. The next slide, the context. So globally, from a global perspective, and this is just beyond just the FSI space. What I mean by FSI, I mean the financial service space. Beyond that, there has been a huge adoption of AI from medicine to infrastructure development and to structural engineering. AI is becoming a vertical like electricity that is impacting every other vertical, right? And that is why it's important as young professionals that we begin to deepen our skills in AI. Just like some years back, people had to learn how to use computers. Then became the shift that also moved to mobile, right? So AI is becoming a very core skill that is needed for us to grow. If you see financial service industry, so this is part of the places where you may be looking for jobs, looking for opportunities. You see that there's a massive growth in the adoption of generative AI. I know we all know what generative AI is. Generative AI stems from the use of stems from a program called deep learning, and it also stems from something that is I know we've heard about the general large language model and all that. So the adoption and the use cases for generative AI is improving or running riots in the financial space. You also see advanced analytics. Advanced analytics is also growing massively because of the use of data. So the data is sitting at the core or the center of this various conversations. Data is becoming the oil that is driving these technologies to sort of grow. So we're also seeing the growth of agentic AI, right? Agent-based AI is where you have robotics technology sitting on top or sitting on a large language model and sort of mimicking the intelligence of a human, right? We're also seeing that huge adoption across the space. So this is sort of speaking to the core skills from an AI perspective that you as an individual would need to sort of run and sort of develop, right? To be able to galvanize the opportunities that are coming before what we call the RPA, the robotics process automation, and the low code, no code. Because in some environments, a lot of things are processed either manually or processed. So you need a building block to sort of help you stem speaking about that. You have come to provide some context around how then do you manage the conversation, the risk around artificial intelligence, right? From a data standpoint, from a chip standpoint, from a cloud infrastructure standpoint, from an energy standpoint, how do I manage it? And that understanding and clarity needs to come from, first of all, how is AI interacting with my own environment, right? This is AI governance from a high level, right? If I'm working in an environment, I want to understand, first of all, how is AI interacting with my environment? How am I infused with the conversation of AI, right? That is what would help you understand the risk that you are faced with. First of all, do I have vendors, supply chain risk? Do I have vendors that are adopting AI? And how is that impacting me, right? Do I have employees who are adopting some form of AI, either from their phone or from their laptop? And what kind of risk does that pose to me, right? These are the very, very minute situations. Do I have a technology delivery team, developers who are, calling up libraries that are also leveraging one form of AI or the other? Those libraries, what are the risks exposed to those libraries? These are the conversations that would expose the organization to some form of risk. And for us to deliver the right outcome from from an organization standpoint, we need to put, like I've said, structures, systems in place, guardrails that would help us build. And that's the whole conversation around AI governance. And what will help us do that very quickly is NIST, right? There's an AI NIST risk management framework that has 4 strategic pillars, right? The govern is establishes AI policies, oversight structures, accountability mechanisms. So governance typically is to say, yes, we want to adopt AI. Yes, we have seen AI as an important vertical or an important technology to be adopted. However, there has to be a structure. And what helps us to institute that structure is by introducing what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, or what is management accountable for from an AI adoption perspective, or what is management giving their approval for. So that is why policies then becomes really important. Structure in terms of, if AI is coming into our own environment, how do we look at what kind of AI is coming? Because we have several forms of AI. You have the dark AI, AIs that are being built for several reasons. We'll speak to that from a technical perspective also too in this conversation, right? So the structure that you are putting, an oversized structure, is to put people in place that would sit as let's say, a committee or a team of people who would look at the entry points or look at the risk that you are exposed to as an organization as it relates to AI. And there has to be accountability mechanism. So there is also the fair use of the ethical and fair use principles of AI, right? One of it is that AI has to be it doesn't have to be a black box. So for instance, someone sells you a solution in CrowdStrike, and it tells you that it does some form of CTI, CIT, or what do you call it? Intelligence, some form of intelligence gathering, interacting with your own data and data outside. I think one of the core questions you should be asking is understanding what what algorithm powers that, right? Understanding what algorithm powers that. And that sort of then speaks to the next point, right? The mapping. So you understand, you have to, first of all, also from a governance perspective or from a mapping perspective, have clarity as to the AI systems that you have across the multiple stacks that I've spoken to. For instance, if your organization has the GPU, right? If the organization has a GPU, right, there has to be an inventory or if your organization is using a cloud infrastructure, and that cloud infrastructure is acquiring some form of GPU or the other, all those conversations has to be placed in context. What I mean is that there has to be an inventory of AI systems, whether it is the human systems, that's the human users who are interacting with AI, or the agents or the robots or the service accounts. There has to be an overall inventory first. That's the first conversation of all AI systems or AI solutions within the organization. That's mapping would help you to provide clarity and context, right? So say this AI is embedded, it's a blended AI, right? Blended AI, it's a bring your own AI, right? So, and then you are putting a context. The context is to say, we acquired this through a vendor, it's off the shelf, we bought this solution, and the solution is being used by, it's being acquired from XYZ, and XYZ is using this model to train data. That context has to be clear. So that's what mapping speaks. So you can actually take time to sort of research this principles, right? This 4 layers. And it also another very important one is the measure. The measure is to do some risk assessment, right? I told you about understanding clearly what the algorithm that is being powered or is being used underneath the AI. Well, how is it doing what it's doing? You've got to get clarity around that. How is it training its model? When you hear model fine-tuning, decode, encode, whatever it is, there has to be clarity, clear understanding of what is being used and how they are being used. So that's measure will then help you to understand how you can assess or what risk it is you are exposed to as an organization, and then how can you mitigate the risk. So that's what happened from a measure layer. And then you also have the manage layer. The manage layer is when you have assessed the risk, you have clarity, context, and then you can implement controls, guardrails, right? To say, oh, this model is learning off this amount of sensitive data. We don't think we want this model to learn. So you would create, from a data governance perspective, then manage the level of interaction in terms of what schema a model have access to or not. So that's the AI NIST, the AI risk management framework. I don't know if we have any question from this slide before I move. So that the session is a bit interactive. You can raise up your hands and throw up a question, and then I would give you a response if you have any question. Okay, I'll move over to the next slide. So the next slide speaks to the ISO standard, right? There's a specific standard at ISO. You also have the 4000 serials, right? ISO that speaks to, beyond just this, also that speaks to how AI can be managed or governed. So you have the plan, do, check, and act. The first is, like we said, it all starts with understanding context. AI all sits with context. You need to understand the context of your organization, how the AI has been applied to your own organization, and then the act or the do is where you then start to design and develop policies, controls that would help to, based on the context of what you've understood, you are building something, a policy or a guardrail that would help you provide some level of structure or system. So what the policy does is it situates accountability with leadership, provides some systems, because you don't want everybody just adopting all forms of AI or the other. So Francisca, you can also help me read out the question and ask the question. I don't know. You have some people dropping questions on the chat. On the chat, you can ask questions. You can ask the question, read out the question, right? So that I can respond to them. Right. So then we also have the check. The check is where you test based on the policies that you have put in place. The leadership approves how you want to adopt or use AI. right? And then you have to have a system that sort of runs regular check to see that the AIs are performing the way they should, right? And then you also have the act. The act is sort of a process that sort of introduces improvement based
to everyday activity coming
so
from
you have a lot of so AI, like I've said before, it's a large conversation. AI is, we actually, it's an ambiguous term. Forgive me if I say that. Ubiquitous term, right? AI is situated everywhere now, so it's becoming a more complicated conversation. It's no longer a single conversation. So when you say, are there laws? Yes, there are a lot of laws. You have the data protection law that speaks that hinges or speaks to specific portion of an AI activity, right? You also have the one that is issued by NCCC. You have AI. You have also some bits of portions from Cyber Act crime. You also have some bits of portion from the CBN risk management, CBN cybersecurity risk management framework, right? You have a couple of all those frameworks that are speaking to specific or addressing specific needs where AI is interacting with specific sectors. So you have sector-specific risks that AI impacts, right? And you have those policies and procedures impacting those areas. So I don't know if you can move to the next question. If you have a follow-up question, you can also ask a follow-up question.
Okay, so Mr. Manuel says, is agentic AI about building AI agents, and can individuals do that?
So I'll just run you through the process of running.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, clearly. I'll just run you through the process of building an agent. So the agent, first of all, is for me, is something that picks one task from one place to the other, right? And you have that also too in regular robotics, regular process automation, right? But the problem with process automation is that it is not autonomous, right? Or it's picking its data source from one area, making its decision through one single source. So it's not autonomous, right? Now, what agentic AI does, or AI agent, those terms can be used interchangeably, or in some instances, there are technical distinctions between those two words, but I'll just use them interchangeably in this context, right? What makes AI agent unique is that I can go to Hugging Face and I will get a model, right? For instance, in this case, cybersecurity model. So I can get a pre-trained model for something, or a general cybersecurity model for something on Hugging Face. And I would come. Then I would come and then refine that model. I'll come refine that model using my policies, using the data around what I want it to do. For instance, I want it to do a pen test, right? So if I have my pen test reports or my pen test interaction using my pen test interactions from sites like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. So I can have several boxes on Hack the Box, maybe about 200 boxes. I have notes from those 200 boxes, easy, hard, difficult. Try Hack Me, same thing, I have notes from them. Notes to speak to those technologies and how I gain access to those technologies. If I have internal reports for my organization, I mix them together and I use them to fine tune the model. Then I set up an MCP based on what I want to do. I'm able to then use that model, build a process on top of it, a process or a bot on top of it to interact with Kali gaining understanding from the MCP So some of these terminologies, you sort of rehash them or research them, right? And then the bot is able to function or do those things. So this knowledge is available of the internet. It's not a complicated thing. You have a lot of teams in Nigeria now building agents to do several things. So that's how the Methods AI came about, where you hear Methods is able to come off a box or expose or run a scan. So I have a system that I developed internally also to, if you give it an IP address and tell it to run an Mmap scan, it does that, right? It starts to look for vulnerabilities. It could go to Bob suit, right? It could go to Bob suit because it is able to do what a regular robot can do, and it has an LLM at its base. So that autonomous, it doesn't really need, you just need an instruction or you to give it a KPI or give it a direction. It doesn't need you to, he has the knowledge, right, to do what he wants to do. So that's the autonomous agent. That's the autonomous conversation, right, that helps to drive that. I don't know if I answered your question. You can also drop a follow-up question. So you have this understanding. You could go to YouTube. You have a lot of so you can actually build it yourself. It's not anything complicated or anything difficult, right? Just to say to that. So which other question also to, so I can move forward to the next slide. Do we have another question?
Okay, no for now, sir.
Okay,
we can move on.
So they can ask follow-up questions. So I'll just go to the next slide that speaks to dark AI, right? So these are one of the things that we're also seeing how AI could be used in adversarial attacks, right? I told you about an AI agent that could do penetration testing, right? Now, you can also build an AI agent that does specific function for the specific function, exploiting certain vulnerabilities where it relates to certain either a malware or firmware, whatever it is that you want to do, right? And that's what we are seeing, how threat actors are adopting AI, because you can go to any platform on, say, on Hugging Face, and you see 3 benchmark model, that 30 billion parameter, 13 billion, 70 billion parameter model. You're pulling up these models and you're using those models to do specific things. So the knowledge is out there. As an AI engineer or an AI or an ML engineer, you could just go off these platforms, pick up all those benchmark models, and then you are fine-tuning them based on the tasks that you want to use them to. If you want to run a phishing campaign, for instance, right? You have use cases around phishing or learnings around phishing, even on the GitHub, right? You could pull all those things and then use them to train the model to run an advanced phishing campaign, right? Or if you have access to a company's report, sensitive report that relates to vulnerability scans, you can use that to build a model and gain unauthorized access to any kind of system. So what I'm saying is that there is a dark AI, right? That AI now is being adopted to do a lot of things that are adversarial in nature, right? Whether it's assisting in malware or autonomous agents carrying out autonomous hacks, right? Or deepfakes. We've seen the cases of deepfakes where you could use AIs to generate images, generate fake images using either the Gemini, Nano Banano, or there are lots of models out there. There are a lot of them. I'm even struggling to catch up with a whole lot of them, or even to so these are some of the concerns that we are seeing now over the space where AI could produce. So these are some of the threats, and where you come in as young professionals is to start to develop the AI engineering skills for cybersecurity. In cybersecurity, there's an opportunity where you as a developer can come, understand the overall, have a base knowledge of cybersecurity, either from a SOC perspective, either from a an app security, a cloud security perspective, and then you use that base knowledge plus your developer knowledge, you're using that to start to build domain-specific LLMs that would address specific problems within your space, right? Because the adversarials are also doing the same thing. They are building subdomain models that would address specific or exploit specific vulnerabilities within the cybersecurity space. So one of the ways you can also advance yourself as a AI professional is to adopt this. Is to adopt this. So let's move to the next slide. I don't know if you have a question. You can also drop your question. So the last slide, right, also speaks to some of the kinds of threats that is happening. Like I've said, that the AI stack starts from energy down to chips and compute, right? And then also goes up to platforms, infrastructure and cloud. And you also have platforms. So I think the regular ones that we're used to is the platforms where we all are interacting with a platform called either a GPT or a Claude and the rest of them. But those platforms have backends that is running on them. And some of those backends are exposed to several risks, either from a supply chain perspective. They're calling up libraries. Those libraries are subject to different forms of risk and threats, right? Some of those processes also are sitting of large forms of data. Those data could be biased, could be poisoned, right? So here are some of the core concerns that you should be aware as young professionals, where that you should know that AI isn't really very safe as you think it is, right? You have also the misinformation concern. You have the prompt injection, which is a very popular one, right? You're sitting on a large model, a large language model that is exposed to you there by an organization, and you want to know the system's admin's username and password, right? If you go directly and say, what is the username of your admin, it's probably wouldn't answer you. But if you insert that question in between a large text, maybe a text of 1,000, embed it into that text of 1,000, it could read while trying to solve other problems. It comes within that line of sentence. It could get a bit confused and then provides you with the username the username and password. So that's what prompt injection is, trying to bypass guardrails and restrictions based off your interactions with the model. And you also have sensitive information disclosure. You can also, that can also, because you have models are being trained off data, generally, right? So as you are imputing things that relate to your personal life, your organization, they are going somewhere. And that overall is sort of going to impact a lot of them. And I've spoken also about supply chain risk, because when you are leveraging models, you're leveraging libraries, plugins, and the rest of them, and those things are introducing their own what I call secondary risk, right? Another also form is excessive agency. While I am a frontline runner, or someone who believes very much in agents, right? Excessive agents is also a concern, where you give too much autonomy or too much power to an agent to start up a task and end the task without a human in the loop. The conversation around you having a human in the loop also too is really very, very, very important, right? So beyond that, also, to what are the opportunities for you as a cybersecurity professional? And it's really very, very clear. It's really very, very clear. An area where you can re-engineer. I've spoken about an area where you can re-engineer solutions that address a specific risk where an adversary is trying to exploit. You're building a specific product that addresses a specific problem in GRC, addressing a specific problem in cloud security domain, address a specific problem in app security. You can have that. I'll give you an instance in GRC, for instance. In GRC, you always want to get reports, SOC reports of, say, what's the average mean time to detect, what's the average mean time to respond, what's the average mean time to close, some tickets that have been raised, right? And you have to sort of sometimes run to the SOC team to give you that data, right? But you could, within your own system, build a small model that interacts with SOC data, it's interacting with those source data. This is I'm saying are not impossible. There are things that have been implemented. I've seen them hands-on, been involved in led projects, won conversations. So these things are really things that are happening now in this space, right? So you could have you can sit from the GRC bit and you're interacting with the LLM. The LLM is giving you data across those areas, and you could use that to curate your policy or curate your reports that is going upwards to management, right? You could also build tools that would help you improve context-specific policies. So you have policies around bring your own device, policies around AI use cases, but the context that it relates to the organization. If you have an LLM that interacts a bit more with your own organization, you can build something, right, using the same process that I've spoken about that allows you to refine or remodel your policy that would fit the context that suits your own policy. So most times we build policies to be replica of other organizations, right? But the data and the risk, the exposures that you have within your organization makes your own organization slightly different or nuanced. And how do you provide a policy that follows the nuanced approach? Is by you having a model that understands and has context, clear understanding around your processes. You could use that to build something. So that's another side of another side of it where you could also build your career. Another one also too is also to the risk assessment bit, where you're understanding from an AI stack perspective, you understand where risk is coming from and how AI is interacting with your overall organization's infrastructure, and you're able to interact with the risk and evaluate the risk across this area, and then provide some form of risk assessment. You provide some form of risk assessment template that would address the various AI threats that organizations are exposed to. So that's another area, right? You can call the first one cybersecurity AI engineer. Second one, you can call the second person an AI risk officer. Right? So you could also see, you could also sit in the second line of defense where you're pursuing compliance from an NDPC, NDPA perspective, where you are looking at the risk of exposing personal data, in breaching privacy risk, right? There's also a bit where you can also be a CISO that is specialized in artificial intelligence. So there are several evolutions or how you can actually build your career path. But what's most important is that AI is here to stay. AI has been adopted across various industries, and the earlier you start to, redesign your career to align with artificial intelligence, the better for you. There are a couple of certifications in the market. You have the AIGP, you have the you have the CDPCE, you have the CZIM, you have a lot of AI courses. You have free courses on NIST, AI Risk Management Framework. You have the ISO free courses, right? You have also MIT courses across various platforms, free platforms that you could also use to jumpstart AI risk conversation, right? So that's me. I don't know. So now I'm open to questions, and questions if you have any questions, right? So that's it. Francesca, Victor, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly, yes.
Okay, thank you for that amazing session. Some of our attendees are, enjoying everything that you give to us. They are wondering if we can get your slides if you are done. We don't know if you can bless us with that.
Okay, we will discuss that later, but let's just go with the questions.
Okay, thank you. Francisca, over to you, please.
Okay. Um, okay. Hi guys, I'm happy to be back. So that was indeed an amazing session, Mr. Rifson. Thank you so much. This was amazing. And trust me, as a GRC analyst, I was just taking notes. I was just noting things down. Guys, please, if you are not clapping, you should. If you're not clapping, you are wrong. Please appreciate our amazing guest speakers. Our amazing guest speaker, please. And we'll be having question and answer. Maybe we'll be looking at, because of time, looking at maybe taking 5 questions. Please keep it brief. If you want to speak, raise your hand. If you want to ask questions, you don't want to come up, you can drop your question on the chat. All right. Even me myself, I have question, Mr. Ripson. Okay, so also please can you check if anyone is raising up their hands, please? So you give them access to speak. Please, guys, keep it brief so other people can have opportunity to ask questions. Okay, since nobody is asking question yet, I think I'll go ahead with my question. Okay, so Mr. Rifsi, when you were presenting, you said something, you mentioned some standards that could be used to manage the risks around AI. I know you mentioned this, all right? So how about ISO 42001? Where does it come in? Because I'm sure that's the one most of us here are familiar with. Where does it come in? Because I was looking forward to you mentioning it, because I feel like, okay, that's the most popular one we are used to. But hearing this today, um, it's cool. And when you were presenting and you walked through the structure, I mean the govern, map, measure, and manage, I could really relate with it. But I want to know, okay, where does ISO 42001 come in all of this? Also, I think you need to unmute his mic so that he can speak.
Oh, his mic is on. His mic is on.
Hi.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
you
So,
talk.
yeah, sorry,
Okay.
sorry. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I hear you clearly.
Okay, so the ISO always takes a clause approach. So you have a lot of clauses. You have the clause usually from clause 4 down to clause 10, where you would be able to implement certain annexures or controls, right? So yes, like I also mentioned the 4000 series, right? So the 4000 series is all packed with artificial intelligence adopting that. So I think your question is stop saying how your question specifically is speaking to what is specifically, is it how to implement it or how relevant is it?
Okay, let's say I want to implement AI governance in an organization. When do I use NIST and when do I use ISO 42001?
Okay, so the ISO and the NIST, so typically, they are all leading practices, right? So I would always recommend you to have a blend of the two of them, right? ISO specifically is because you want to create management systems. You want to create systems that would help you, and that's what we're talking about. You want to create a structure that helps you provide a defined outcome, right? So you're implementing a management system. The management system is also to help organizations know that you're processing data, you're using AI in your organization, and you also have systems, safe systems in place to be able to manage AI risk, right? So that is what the ISO does for you. And the NIST is a leading practices to just to give organizations high level or not a context approach, not a nuanced approach, but something that is high level, generic, that gives you an idea of how to govern the AI risk, right? So if you take a mixture of the two of them, and you can be able to sort of build something that is that really is specific to your organization. But from an ISO perspective, it still follows the same pattern where you have the six relevant clauses from 4 that speaks to context, 6 sort of speaks to planning, infusing risk assessment, risk treatment into the overall AI conversation, right? That's from a clause 6 perspective, if I'm correct. Then the whole understanding, the whole life cycle of AI from an operational perspective that speaks to clause 8, and providing relevant documentations in that bit, right? And the gold mine also too is really the annexures, right? That speaks to the list of controls that the organization must have or put in place. For instance, the policies around AI, the AI lifecycle, systems lifecycle, data for AI, and all that policies that you should have in place, third-party supply chain policies, systems management, specific playbooks that speaks to AI. So that is from an ISO perspective, right? So maybe ISO specifically would help you implement systems, policies, procedures, management systems that would help you manage the overall outcome of AI, right? But I also would recommend that you have a blend of the two, the NIST AI risk management framework, adopting that together with the ISO that you mentioned. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, sir, you did. It's very clear. Although I have another question.
Okay.
Okay. So, when ISO 27001 is being implemented in an organization, there are some documents that are being requested, that are being expected from the organization to provide. So is it same thing as AI, or not all is applicable?
So that's the whole essence, right? The whole essence of a management system or the ISO standard is for you to be able to implement a process and a system. Do you understand? So what is going to help you come out with is going to help you come out with a list of policies, systems that you should have in place. So just like you also have in ISO 27001, is the same way that you would also have that, so like you have in the BCM standard, the same way you would also have that in ISO, in the AI, in the AI standard.
Okay. All right, sir. I see a question here in the chat. It says, can you briefly explain how AI can work in GRC?
Okay, so AI can work in GRC it depends on how you set up the GRC space. Like based on my own understanding of your GRC, that you have you have the governance bit, you have the risk management bit, and you have the compliance bit. So those 3 things are the core specifics as it relates to governance. So from a governance perspective, your structure, policies, your people, setup, your how your whole cybersecurity team is set up. That's from a governance bit. And from a risk bit is to have continuous systems that helps you assess the risk across your cybersecurity domain on an ongoing basis. And compliance is that you're interacting with other organizations. You have an apex body regulating you, and you have obligations to meet, but you have to meet all those obligations. So then the question is, how do you infuse AI into this 3 components? And one of the easiest way is to, I don't know, it's often not, it's expensive, but you can have an LLM that is specific to your organization. So if your organizations have acquired GPUs, I know some organizations have acquired GPUs, or some organizations have plans to acquire the cloud or physical hardware GPUs, whichever one. If they do, Very good. You could have build specific LLMs that speaks to overall cybersecurity expertise. So there are benchmark models on Hugging Face and other platforms where you can pick a cybersecurity model, like about 10, 15 of them. You benchmark them, it could be 13, 14, it could be 13, 70, 30, whichever one, billion parameter model. You bring it off the internet, right, off that platform, and then you start to fine tune it with your policies. You fine tune it with your policies, then it's then subdomain to you, a context that where it's able to do a lot of things within your organization. So then you build the MCP component, that's the model concept protocol component, right? You have a vector DB. The vector DB is where you have all the information around your SOC, your DAM, your PAM, your cybersecurity infrastructure from an operational perspective, cybersecurity infrastructure from a architectural perspective. All of them would have insight or data vectorized into that vectorized data database. So you then have clear interaction between your vector DB and the LLM. The LLM is one you're interacting with, asking questions. So every time you just ask a question, where the MCP, there's a small non-SQL or SQL query that goes. It's asking the SIEM, it's asking the WAF questions, because all those data, it's piping all those data and picking all those data on a minute by minute basis into its own vector DB. It's able to harness this information, and then you can interact with those, your entire cybersecurity infrastructure using natural language. Now, if you're able to do that, right, you are able to know if you have systems that are monitoring risk, you have systems that are assessing risk. For instance, you have an API gateway system that is interacting with all API endpoints within your organization, and it's pulling API risk or blocking and tracking API risk. You can, from a governance or from a risk perspective, you can build something that allows you to structure your risk reporting, that allows you to structure your risk interaction with the upward leadership through that process. I don't know if what I've said is clear. You know, I'm speaking up from a technical perspective. I want to be sure what I'm saying is clear. So you can have sitting from your own decks, an LLM where you can interact with, chat up, ask questions, and it's giving you those interactions because the system backend has been built in such a way that it's able to speak to multiple different systems, your SIEM, your DAM, your whatever it is that you have within your infrastructure, all your cybersecurity domains. It's interacting with them and it's pulling data, using those data. One of the good things about cybersecurity is an area where you have massive ground of truth, right? There is data, 80% or 90% clean data across multiple systems. So if you have that, plus the GRC engineering I spoke about, where you could have a robotics platform that allows you to, for instance, an external audit person comes and conducts a cybersecurity audit on your system. The output of that audit report, you have it in a structured data form, right? Internal audit comes, does an assessment, you have it in a structured data form. IT risk comes in, does an assessment, you have it in a structured data form. Whatever posture assessment that is being done, strategy that is being done, whatever conversation that is being done from it, you all have every single thing in a data form, ones and zeros, right? If you have it in a data form, or you can have vulnerability access, vulnerability reports, there's a scan happening in one infrastructure, the other infrastructure, everything is all seated on a vector DB. You can interact with those systems using the GRC. So the kind of reports that you want, the kind of access, what kind of things that you want to reshape your strategy, you want to do anything, you can do that using that. So that's one of the very massive way you can shift the GRC space using artificial intelligence. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you actually did.
Yeah.
Yes, you actually did. And thank you very much for that. So we have like about 2 questions on YouTube. So I'll ask that. The first one is, where do you think cyber GRC professionals need to upskill the most to remain relevant in AI governance? Because from what you have been saying all this while, Trust me, AI governance seems like a whole lot. Like, imagine already practicing, maybe I'm already a GRC analyst, for example, and I want to integrate AI. It seems a lot. So this, if you could explain further, is there a place we need to focus more on, or maybe a niche? Because it seems even in the AI governance, there's actually another niche. So please, if you explain that,
Yeah,
we really
so there is
appreciate.
also you can research AI, GRC engineering. There's a GRC engineering we should have spoken to, where you could use platform engineering to re-engineer your GRC processes, right? The way GRC is set up, you can have platforms, workflows that are set up to help you pull structured data from your GRC data points, right? That's GRC engineering. So you could research that. It's a good area for you to. So you could use Jira, you could use Microsoft Power Platforms, you could use AWS platforms like Bedrock and the rest of them also to get started around that area. That's one component. Another component also too is this whole conversation we've spoken about. So there, AI comes into organizations via multiple entry points, right? There are different kind of AI risk, a whole lot of them. You know, and another area where a GRC person can specialize in is in the risk assessment, which we have a lot of massive gap. For instance, the organization is acquiring a GPU, for instance, right? What are the risks around you acquiring a GPU from a risk perspective? What are the risk conversation in acquiring a GPU? You want to be on top of that, right? There are several risks. If you Google that risk, how then do you assess it and be sure that your organization is adopting that ambition safely, right? That's an area of specialization. API is interacting with a lot of connecting with a lot of endpoints and all that. And at the center is also data, right? And API systems also too, maybe also to be interacting with some models and the rest of them. That's also producing its own form of risk. So what I am saying is that if you look at the entry points of AI into your own environment and look at data, right, you could have a clear inventory of the various kind of risks that you are exposed to and your ability to identify what can go wrong from this area, right? And also we also understand that the threat, what we believe to be a threat model before, or what we even call the cyber kill chain, all those methodologies are beginning to shift and change because of the introduction of AI. What you call a threat model now is different from what we called a threat model for a certain form of risk 2-3 years ago. It's all changing, right? So threat modeling now, your approach to threat modeling now is sort of changing. It has to be approached with AI in mind, right? So that's so you could be a risk person that looks at AI from a risk management perspective, from a privacy perspective, and you're looking at what regulation is speaking to, and you are building guardrails and building understanding what can go wrong from those perspectives. Even from an incident management perspective also too, it's another portion, right? There are adversarial attacks that are happening every day using AI. And how do you build an AI system that would help, help an organization come back very quickly when there is an incident? You have your playbooks, for instance. You have your playbooks. You have playbooks, ransomware, DDoS playbooks. You have phishing email playbooks. You have various kind of playbooks everywhere. How do you automate these playbooks in such a way that when I happen, there's an LLM that's prompting someone and telling you the next thing to do based on the playbooks? You could have an intelligent playbook system that is interacting and telling the team what to do, advising them on what to do, and telling them, "Oh, have you done this? Have you shot that this? I think you should do this. I think you should do this." And what I would do is help them to reduce the blast radius, help them contain the blast radius, advise them, because during an incident there's always a lot of confusion. So I think I've said a lot around what you can do. You could research more, right? You could also chat me, follow me on LinkedIn and ask me personal questions on LinkedIn. I also address it specifically.
Oh yes, yeah, that's very, very true. I will share his LinkedIn profile very soon, guys. Just keep checking the chat. I'll drop that. We have a second question. So this one is, he said, I guess NIST AI. I think he meant NIST is more technical than ISO 2001.
That's a comment. That's not a question.
Okay. All right. So when you were mentioning the career opportunities, like for myself, I am looking towards someone being that person that would help organization implement AI governance. So just like we have ISO 27001 implementer and auditors, so that could be career paths around AI governance, right?
Yeah. So from the compliance bit, right? You can also support within that area from a compliance bit, right? So that's a good career path, right? So that has its own, and it's also something that a lot of organizations are struggling with. So that will also come in handy. So that's a
All
good
right, thank you.
suggested also too.
Thank you very, very much. Guys, please let's appreciate Mr. Richardson for the last time. Let's clap for him. This was so amazing. Like my notes is full. Like I'll go back now and at least I have clarity. My research will continue from here, but I've gained a lot of insight and clarity. Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. God bless you honestly. I don't know. I don't think anyone has more question. So I'll call on our community manager, Mr. Ostis, in case he has anything to share before our lead mentor and host, Mr. Victor Akinwode, comes up for closing remarks. So Ostis,
Okay.
over to you.
Yeah, good evening, Francisca. Thank you for the amazing moderating work that you're doing. And to our wonderful guest speaker, we sincerely appreciate your time. Can you hear me? Please confirm if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So currently, you all know that our mentorship is going on, our 1 month mentorship. We're encouraging everybody that is on board. I'm sure that you get committed as you are. We are seeing what you're doing, and we sincerely appreciate you. All right, as you all know, we are very, very, keen about cyber awareness. That's why we have created every platform possible to ensure that you guys, are active as possible. If you have not been following us on all our social media handles, ensure to do that. We have equally created a cybersecurity crash course, right? And it is on our YouTube channel. What we are requesting from you is once you join the YouTube channel, ensure to comment, like, and share, right? So that we can reach a wider audience. We are ensuring that Africa gets very, very cyber aware, right? And, we are taking cybersecurity to the next level. So, if you can hear me, you can drop the links. You can drop the links now. I think I'll now be handing over back to Francisca to continue with the moderating. Francisca, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please.
I'm dropping our guest speaker LinkedIn profile right now on the chat. So do well to follow him. Okay. You keep learning a lot from his post. And if you have question, you can ask him as well. So right now, we are almost towards the end. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you for being here up till now. I mean, it means that you really got value. And I will be calling our lead mentor and host, Mr. Victor Akinwode, to come and give his closing remark. Guys, let's start clapping, please. Let's start clapping. Welcome back, Mr. Victor. We are happy to hear from you again. Please come and
All
speak
right,
to us
guys.
one last
Good
time.
evening. How are you guys doing? So please let's celebrate the person of Mr. Ripson Uguzo. He has been my boss since way back. So thank you so much. Your speech today was very, very insightful. A lot of questions, a lot of answers. I so much appreciate all of them. So thank you so much, sir. God bless you. So for everyone who has been a part of this as well, I believe that in one way or the other, you've learned something. You've picked one or two things, and that's amazing. So I want you to celebrate yourself as well. So please let's celebrate our moderator too, and let's celebrate the entire team behind this. So they've done an amazing work in putting this together. So thank you so much. Please, I want to encourage you that what you've learned, don't just let it end there. Go ahead, proceed to leverage them, use them. Okay, use them to your growth, use them to your advantage. All right. Practice some of the things that have been mentioned, because that is when you get